There's one thing that AEG like, it's big boxes.
Hypnotoad is brought to you by the Magnafalix 302-inch TV. It's bigger.
Oh, hell!
Hi guys, welcome to another Broken Meeple review, and yeah, it's a big one, a pretty big one. This is the expansion to Mystic Vale, Conclave. Now, I wasn't planning to do a review of this at first, and certainly, even though that I have done some reviews for the various expansions in the past, I do really like this game. It wasn't one that I was thinking, oh, I'm going to review every single expansion, because a lot of the time it just adds more cards and gives you maybe one new mechanic. Well, what do you really have to say about that? This one though, after I tried it, I felt it needed to get the word out about it, because this doesn't actually introduce any more cards. It's, apart from a few, but it doesn't give you like more advancements or anything like that. It gives you more materials of how to tweak the game you've already been playing, and of course, gives you a giant storage option in order to, store your game. And believe me when I say there's more coming. If you imagine what Smash Up was like when they did that, you had so much space in that box, it was ridiculous. Well, and that box is actually starting to get filled up quite quick now. I've got all sorts of stuff in that box, and it's almost getting full. Will they stop at some point? No, because from what I've heard, there's going to be an even bigger giggy box for that. So AEG have just got this weird fetish about big boxes. Well, Conclave is the same sort of deal. You've had, what do we have? Mystic Vale, and then we had Vale of Magic, Vale of the Wild, Mana Storm, and then this. So you had 3 expansions previous to this one, but once you got those 3 other expansions, you couldn't fit everything in the base box. It just got too big for its britches, and I always thought this was going to be a problem when they added more cards. So this is their answer. They've now given us this big storage solution, and as you can see from some of the imagery, there's a lot of space in this. They are going to be releasing more expansions. In fact, I believe by the time this video goes out, we'll almost have had the next expansion, Twilight Garden, I think it's called, on us, and there you go, another expansion for this game. So there's going to be a lot more content coming out for this. You can tell that this is popular, that people are enjoying this, and people want to get more content. Myself included, because I really do like this game. It's appeared in my top 100, lowish in the top 100, I admit, but it has been getting better and better as time goes on with the new cards that have come out. It was kind of ho-hum when I first played it because I knew it didn't have enough replay value. But as more mechanics have been added, as more cards have been added, the variety has gone ridiculous, and now it's like, ooh, really shaping up. So, other than just giving you a big box, is it worth grabbing Conclave? Because, people hate paying for a box. I mean, Scythe Legendary much, but with this, there is more to it than just simply, a giant box. So I'm going to go into those elements one by one and give my general assessment of how I think they improve the game. So to start off with, let's just talk about a few little minor component upgrades. You get these really cool plastic dividers for the, the various cards that you have and how to organize your decks. And it's all done very well. AEG have done pretty well with this sort of thing since they started doing the plastic ones in Smash Up. No different here. You get some cool dividers. You also get these little dials where you rotate them for each of the symbols that you can get. And when you buy those Vale cards, you need like the sun symbol, the moon symbol, the claw symbol, those various things. And normally you had to try and remember, hang on, did I have 3 of those? Did I have 2 of them? I can't remember. And how many have I spent already? Well, now you've got these 4 little twisty discs, they're double-sided, and basically as you lay out your field of cards, you basically just turn each one to give you a running total of how much you got. So that if you do decide to spend them in a turn, you just turn them down and it keeps mental track. Very useful thing. I would definitely use them if you're definitely going for that strategy. However, more of them equals more table space, and this is going to get compounded as this review goes on. But they're a nifty little addition, and I'm certainly glad to have them. On top of that, you then have totem cards. Totem cards are kind of a bit similar to the evoke tiles that you had in the previous expansion, But rather than being dependent on having to spoil, and by the way, I'm going to assume you know how to play this game, because otherwise, why are you watching this review? But when you spoil, you normally flip the token over, and with the evoke ones that you got in the previous expansion, you got a special ability, and it was minor ability. These totem cards are super powerful. These ones you have one of at the start of the game, everybody gets one, and it's a permanent special ability. And it's powerful. Wow. These are game-changing abilities, and they're all tailored to a specific thing. Like there's one that gets you like really cool bonuses and additional Sentry Guardian symbols. So if you're going for that kind of strategy, you want that totem. There's another one that allows you to, increases your chances of not spoiling by various means. There's one that allows you to circumnavigate the rules about buying only twice in a round. I forget what they all do, but there's a good variety of them, and they are pretty powerful. You've got to be careful about using these, because if you're new to the game, I think it's a bit much, because you won't understand just how powerful that ability is until you've tried it. You want to get more used to the game, and I do like them. I think they're brilliant. I even think they speed up the game a little bit, because as everybody has this game-changing ability, it allows them to progress further through getting the cards. But definitely one I think more for seasoned players than brand new gamers. It's one less thing for them to think about. Let them get used to the mechanics first, and then when they're more, accustomed to the game and how it works, then chuck the totems in, and there's a good variety of them. You could have 4 very different totems out, which, in turn generate 4 very different playstyles. I really like them, but again, won't bring them out if I'm teaching the game. One of the weaker elements of this is what I call the conclaves, and it's a bit strange that the title of this expansion has to be the weakest element of it, but the conclaves basically give you these cards that give you suggested starting setups. It gives you the names of various advancements, and if you separate them all out and build your game through that, and it kind of influences how the game will progress. Like you might have one that gets you a lot of early mana growth. You might have one that is focused a lot on the symbols, and vice versa. They've all got different playstyles, and there's a lot of them in the box. My only thing with this is that you kind of want to set this up ahead of time, because you need to go through all those advancements, and if you're like me and you've got all of them in there, all the expansions, it can take you a while to sift through all these advancements, particularly as you remember, you mix them up every game. So it's not like they're all carefully laid out in alphabetical order for you to find. You have to sift through and find them all, and that can take some time. So what you would probably do is set some up ahead of time, try them out. If you like a particular setup, then you can keep it with a divider, because there's a divider for it, and you can keep all the cards in there, and it means in future games it'll be much quicker. But I don't know how often you're going to get to play this game with the same conclave setup all the time, unless you really like it. And you're going to want to try out more of the others. I've only tried out a couple of them. They're neat. They do change up how the game plays, but I don't think they're essential at all. I mean, I like having all the advancements in one big pile and just sifting through them, but the conclaves do add a nice way to maybe, tweak the game if certain players are more used to certain other ways of playing, or perhaps you want to make it like there's loads of mana out there for people to get. Good one to teach the game with. You could pre-select all these nice beginner-friendly advancements and let them go, let them progress through that way. They're okay. I can take them or leave them, but they're probably my weakest element of this expansion. Some people really like them, some people don't. They're quite divisive, but yeah, not that fussed about them. However, we're now going to get on to the best bit about this expansion. This was the sole, well, almost sole reason. Yeah, I needed the big box. But this was the main other reason I bought this expansion. The Equinox Variant. This is, one problem I've had with Mystic Vale, and a lot of people have this problem, is that it's mostly multiplayer solitaire. Yeah, it is, because you're building up your field, you're doing your thing. What the other players are doing, apart from ending the game, isn't really affecting you that much. But when you played with 4 players before, you were there for a long time, because as soon as you've done your turn, you gotta wait for them, and them to sort out what they're doing, and if they've got complex decks, or if they're analysis paralysis prone, you're going to be here for a while, and it overstayed its welcome. Hence, I only really wanted to play it with 3 players, or 2 even. Sadly, there wasn't a solo mode. But, that was a slight flaw, and it did hamper it on my top 100 as a result. What the Equinox Variant does is that it allows you to play 2 players simultaneously. It even adds a 5th and a 6th player to the game, and I was thinking, Are you crazy? Seriously? You see me go on rants with things like 5 tribes and that every time a game likes to add a 5th player, and it's like, you want to add a 6th as well? I don't want to play this game with 5 or 6, that's just way too long. That's because you're meant to use the Equinox variant with it. And the way it works is that you have a day and a night banner, sort of tile tokens, and 2 players, one will be night and one will be day. You set up the game in advance so that you have the rows of advancements and veil cards that you can buy, all underneath the day banner, and a similar, almost identical setup under the night banner. Same pile, just different advancements have come out of the decks. And the idea is that 2 players will take their turns at the same time. So me and the person opposite me, I'll be night, they'll be day. And when you buy cards, you can only buy from underneath the banner of the token you are using. So if I'm night, I can only buy from the night cards. They are day, they can only buy from the day cards. This allows you to future plan a little bit ahead, because you'll think, right, in a turn I'm going to get the day ones. Well, over there I quite like that card. I probably want that in a minute. But that's not the best thing it does. This Equinox variant is the only way I will play this game from now on, ever. The Equinox variant is, technically you could just cut out a bit of cardboard, write day on it, and use it with the previous expansion. But if you've bought this box already, I would say the Equinox variant is worth the price alone. It's that good. Now, it's not perfect. Flaws is it does involve a bit more setup because you need a giant table for this. If you thought Mystic Vale was already a table hog, woo, play the Equinox variant because you are in for some fun. Because you need a giant table. I mean, I've got this Geekerson one here. That works perfectly for it. On a normal dining table, you better hope it's a pretty sizable dining table. Because you're going to need your space for your field, you're going to need the discard pile, you're going to need those 4 dials I mentioned, but those, you're going to need 3 advancements for each of the 3 levels on each side of the cards. You're going to need 4 of the level 1 veils for each side, 4 of the level 2 veils for each side. This all mounts up in table space, particularly if you've got 4 or more players. I mean, if you've got a small table, don't even try playing this Equinox variant with 4 players. And whoa, you need a Geekson table or something really big to play this with 5 or 6. It gives you a couple of ways to set up the Equinox variant in the rulebook, which I like. One designed for rectangular tables, one designed for square and circular tables. I like that. That was a cool thing for the designer and publisher to add in the rulebook, so thumbs up to you there. And you've got a small table variant in there, but to be honest, the more you condense this down on the table, the more cluttered it gets. So have a big table before you break out this Equinox variant. But what it was aiming to do was to speed up the game. Because let's imagine you're playing with 4 players. Normally you have to wait 1, 2, 3 other players before it gets back round to you. Now, you and your opponent opposite you take your turn. You then both flip your token to the waiting side when you finished your turn. So you might get a little bit of a delay if you've sort of like spoiled early, or if you were quick on your turn. It's like, I'm waiting, my opponent's still got to do something. So it's not perfect, but it does speed up particularly. You then give the token to the player on your right. So in a 4-player game, the 2 that were just waiting now get to do their turn simultaneously. And then as soon as they're done, the tokens come back round so that you have the day token if you previously had night, and vice versa. So you only have 1.5 turns of downtime. You know, you've got whatever length it takes for your opponent who's like synchronized with you to finish their turn. They might have finished before you even. But then you've only got to wait for the next round, and then you go again, and then another round, and then you go again. So the length of the game is sped up, not quite cut in half, but it's certainly sped up a decent degree. But on the plus side of it, even if your game does go on a bit long, the downtime is cut down significantly. Because now you only have so much time when those tokens are on the other 2 players to sort of think, oh, what can I buy next round? Right, okay, I'm going to buy that one. And then, oh, it's your turn, I get to act. And, you know, when you've finished your turn and you're waiting, you're already planting your field for the next turn anyway, so you're still involved. There's not a lot of downtime when you use this variant, unless you have got some analysis paralysis players, but it's certainly mitigated a lot more than if you were playing this the normal way with it. Now, you can play this variant with any number of players, from 2 to 6. With 5 or 6, you should use this variant. It says you don't have to, but for crying out loud, I think you'd have to be moronic in order to not use the Equinox variant with 5 or 6 players, because you're going to be there for hours. But, you know, and I did try a 6-player game of this. It was It was good. I would only use the Equinox variant with it. There wasn't much downtime in it, but it can still go on a bit long. But it's one of those few occasions where I'm like, you've added more players. I'm actually cool with playing it like this. Especially if you don't use too many of the new expansion mechanics and you're just teaching the game to 5 or 6 people. Might go on a bit long, but the Equinox variant makes it a lot more enjoyable. And the 2 starter decks, they're standard like everything else, you know, so you can mix and match the colours based on preference. But I'm not opposed to playing this with 5 or 6. But with 4, it really speeds up a 4-player game. This variant is just pure genius. I can't say much better about it. I will not play Mystic Vale again without that variant. Well, okay, a 2-player game with a base set I'd probably do, and maybe a 3-player game I would be tempted by, but 4 players? Yeah, never again. I want this variant. And to be honest, if I'm breaking my copy of this out, we are using that variant. End of discussion. It's just that solid. So, Conclave in general really depends how much you're into this game. If you've only grabbed 1 expansion and you're kind of happy with the game, you don't desperately need this. The Equinox variant could be done as a print and play if you just print out the night and day banners and then a token for each player. You could pretty much make it yourself. And that's probably a good recommendation to do if you are happy to just stick with 1 expansion and you're comfortable with Mystic Vale. But if you are like me, have got everything to do with Mystic Vale and you really enjoy this game, I would say for that variant, for the box, the storage box, because you're going to notice with those expansions that the box ain't big enough anymore, and if you want to collect more content, must buy. You need it. It's just like the Smash Up Geeky box. It is one of those must buy essentials if you are really into Mystic Vale. If you're not, then you can skip it, or you can just like print and play a couple of aspects. But if you really like Mystic Vale, must get. I like Mystic Vale Conclave in the collection, and I look forward to adding more cards to it soon. This is a solid design. Previously I was only just about putting it on my top 100. It has been rising up the ranks as each expansion's got, and now with the Equinox variant, this could be a contender for top 50. It could be. Maybe top 75 more likely, but this is comfortably now rising up the top 100 for me. And it's all down to that variant. That variant has solved the biggest problem for Mystic Vale for me. And with that in place, I can now enjoy this game a lot more and get it to the table a lot more. It's a great design, a great twist on deck building, and it was, so innovative for me that it made me want to back the Edge of Darkness Kickstarter that the same designer, John DeClaire, is doing, which is going to take it into a more meaty worker placement aspect. Can't wait for that game. Think it's going to be solid. Was a bit expensive, but hey, innovation in games. This is what I want to see. I'm tired of seeing the same old stuff prepared all the time. This is an example of innovation in a game done right. So that's it for me. See you on the next video for the Broken Meeple. And whether you spoil or not, it's still only a game. Take care. See you on the next episode. And remember to subscribe to the channel and take note of any of the other videos and podcasts that I'm doing. Please watch it. I appreciate all your support. Take care. Have a good day.